This is a video of Times Square around December 2019, right before all the virus stuff started and the social distancing and whatnot. And so this is what it looks like today, but every time I come out here, which isn't often because it's really crowded and touristy, it brings back memories of how Times Square was when I was a kid and how you remember everything as being better or cooler when you were younger. So Times Square was definitely much different to me back when I was younger, and it was a lot more dangerous, that's for sure. And so to give you an idea of what it was like, I'm going to talk about a story of me getting robbed down here on Times Square in the middle of the daytime back in like 1984. So here's my story. So this area obviously used to be a lot worse. There wasn't so many tourists and everything like that because it was really dangerous in the 80s. And I don't know if one time I actually got robbed, me and my cousin Paul, we got robbed in broad daylight right on this street on Thanksgiving in the middle of the day. So I think it was 1984, 85, something like that. And remember, it was Thanksgiving, and my cousin came to visit, and we wanted to come out here because I think the Playland arcade was still here. It was this big arcade with all these video games and stuff, and we wanted to see, he's visiting from Jersey, so he wanted to see Times Square. So we came out here, and the McDonald's on this street, he wanted to get an ice cream cone, or we both did. So we went into the McDonald's and we ordered ice cream, and my cousin pulled out like a $20 bill, okay, which was a lot of money back then, especially for whatever us little 13, 14-year-old kids. And what he didn't realize was there was like this, real jail-looking type dude that was watching us and saw him pull out the money. So we got I had a few dollars, but I had a $20 bill in my sneaker just because of stuff like that, you know what I mean? So we come out of McDonald's and start walking up this street here, and there's millions of people on the street just like there is now. And as we're walking, licking our ice cream cones, this guy starts to kind of like, push into us and like kind of slowly, like he didn't like push us, but he just kind of like was walking slowly and like pushing us off to the side of the street, like over here, right? And by the time we realized, like we just thought, it was crowded or whatever. By the time we realized we're standing in front of the guy, like off to the side, and he comes up to us and he goes something like, he goes, "Give me your money," or he goes, "I got a knife and I'll cut your balls off," or something like that, right? I mean, me and my cousin still remember this, and we laugh about it. And so there we are, still licking our ice cream cones right here on the street. This dude is robbing us. He didn't pull out a knife or nothing. He just said he had a knife. But, you see that look on his face, like, you could tell that's like one of those hardcore jail, druggy, crazy, whatever type of dude. And so my cousin pulls out his money. So there we are. We're both with one hand licking our ice cream cones and with the other hand digging into our pockets and giving this guy all the money we had in our pockets. And while he's trying to be discreet about it, so that none of the millions of people that are walking by realize that we're getting robbed. Not that they would have done anything anyway. They probably, even if a few of them realized what was going on, they probably just look the other way and mind their business. So My cousin gave him the money he had, which was probably that 20 bucks. And I had like, I don't know, 2, 3 singles in my pocket. And I had that $20 bill in my shoe just for such situations like this. So I gave him the few singles I had in my pocket. And we're still there licking our ice cream cones. And then he goes, all right, now, start walking in the other direction up the street. And keep walking for a minute or whatever before you don't turn around, something like that, kind of like you see in the movies, really. So we just started walking up the street, still licking our ice cream cones, and my cousin's like, well, what are we gonna do now? Should we go to the police, or should we go report it? And I'm like, no, they're not gonna do nothing. And really they wouldn't have, I'm sure. So we just headed towards, I remember, the 49th Street train station a few blocks up. And when we got to the train station, I pulled the money out of my sneaker, and we paid our tokens and got on the train and headed home. So if nothing else, at least it was a memorable experience that we still look back on and talk about and laugh about. Had nothing happened to us that day, it probably would have been just like any other day. We would have played some video games or something, and probably not even remembered much of it. So that's the kind of stuff that happened back then. I don't know how much often it happens. It definitely doesn't happen a lot on Times Square now with the large police presence and stuff like that. But if there's definitely scams going on, and if you look for trouble, you'll definitely find it around here. But nothing like the days in the 70s, 80s, probably even the early 90s around here. It was a totally different crowd before Disney started investing in the area, and really that was, I guess, the beginning of the real tourist kind of area for Times Square. So I don't know what to say about Times Square back then. I remember it kind of fondly, I guess, even though it was a really kind of bad area and a lot of drugs and crime and all kinds of scams and whatnot. But again, you look at things through a different lens when you're younger. It all seems so much more exciting or whatever than it is now, I guess. So that's the difference between Times Square now and Times Square how it was years ago. More exciting, but definitely more dangerous. So that's my video on what Times Square looks like today, and my little story on what it was like back in the days, 35 or so years ago. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment if you want to see more videos like this one. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.